The research vessel Horizon drifted silently through space near Jupiter's orbit. Captain John Miller stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the strange object that appeared on their scanners. It wasn't a meteor or space debris. It moved in a way that suggested intelligence. "What do you think it is, Captain?" asked Lisa Ward, the ship's xenobiologist. Her brown eyes were wide with excitement. "I'm not sure," John replied, "but it's definitely not one of ours." The crew watched as the object came closer. It was a ship, damaged and drifting. Its metal skin was burned and torn in several places. Whatever it was, it needed help. "Should we make contact?" asked Communications Officer Ben Cole. John nodded. "Send the standard greeting package on all frequencies." Minutes passed with no response. Then a weak signal came through. The sound was unlike anything they had ever heard, clicks and low rumbles that no human throat could make. "We need to help them," Lisa said. "They might be hurt." After careful maneuvering, the Horizon pulled alongside the alien vessel. Through the damaged hull, they could see movement inside. John organized a rescue team with Lisa, Medical Officer Frank Perry, and Security Chief Natalie Green. Dressed in their spacesuits, the team entered the alien ship through an airlock. The air inside was breathable, but had a strange, sweet smell. The corridors were wider and taller than human standards. Everything was built for beings much larger than humans. They found the aliens in what seemed to be a control room. There were 5 of them. Each stood nearly 8 feet tall with 4 muscular arms and skin that looked like polished stone. Their eyes, 3 on each face, blinked rapidly at the sight of the humans. "We come in peace," John said, even though he knew they couldn't understand him. He raised his hands to show he carried no weapons. Lisa stepped forward slowly. One of the aliens was clearly injured, blue liquid seeping from a wound on its lower body. When she took out a medical scanner, the alien flinched. "It's okay," she said softly. "We want to help." While Frank prepared medical supplies, Lisa noticed something odd. The aliens were watching her with what seemed like fear. When she accidentally cut her finger on a piece of metal and a drop of red blood appeared, the aliens made sounds that resembled gasps. Over the next few hours, the humans worked to help the injured aliens and repair their ship. They learned through simple gestures that the aliens called themselves the Valkyrie. They had been damaged in an asteroid field and were grateful for the help. But something was strange. Every time the humans showed their strength, like when Natalie easily lifted equipment that seemed heavy, the Valkyrie exchanged looks. When Frank worked for hours without rest, they seemed surprised. And when Ben ate a meal in front of them, showing human teeth, they moved back slightly. "I think we make them nervous," Lisa told John privately. "It's like they think we're dangerous somehow." On the 3rd day, the lead Valkyrie, who the crew had started calling Blue because of the markings on its face, used their equipment to send a message into deep space. "They're calling for help from their people," Ben explained after analyzing the signal pattern. What the humans didn't know was that the message contained more than a call for help. It also held a warning about the strange, small creatures who had saved them. Creatures who bled red, who could work without rest, who showed their teeth when they made facial expressions, and who seemed unnaturally strong for their size. The Valkyrie message reached their homeworld a day later. Within hours, it was forwarded to the highest levels of the Galactic Concordat. Earth's location had just been revealed to the wider galaxy, and the report that came with it had already classified humans as a potential concern. First contact had been made. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and the universe was already afraid. 6 months after meeting the Valkyrie, Earth was busy preparing for its first official meeting with the Galactic Concordat. The United Earth government had chosen diplomat Kate Russell to lead the human team. Next to her stood Colonel Alan Hayes, a tall man with a serious face who would advise on military matters. "Are you nervous?" Alan asked as their shuttle approached the Masset space station where the meeting would happen. Kate smoothed her blue uniform. "A little. We're about to meet aliens from all over the galaxy. I think I'm allowed to be nervous. The space station looked like a giant metal wheel spinning slowly in the darkness of space. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. As they docked, Kate saw other ships of strange shapes and sizes. Earth was just one small player in a very big game now. Inside the station, the air smelled clean but different. The halls were tall and wide to fit all kinds of alien bodies. Kate and her team of 12 humans walked carefully, aware that everyone was watching them. Their guide was a Valkyrie named Shoru. The 7 main species of the Concordat will meet you in the Grand Chamber, he explained in broken English learned from human broadcasts. They are curious about humans. Just curious. Ellen asked, noticing how Shoru kept a careful distance from them. Shoru's 3 eyes blinked rapidly. Yes, curious. The Grand Chamber was a huge round room with 7 large sections for each major species. The humans were given a small area with chairs that were too big for them. One by one, the alien leaders introduced themselves. The Valkyrie they had already met. Then came the Zora, who looked like blue deer with 4 eyes. The Pilax were small green creatures with large heads. The Morveni resembled giant octopuses floating in water tanks. The Trill were tall, thin beings with skin that changed colors as they spoke. Then came the leaders of the Concordat. First were the Voss, who looked like floating jellyfish with glowing centers. They spoke directly into everyone's minds, their voices soft but clear. Humans, the Voss leader said, we welcome you to the galactic community. Finally, the Arcturians entered. They were massive beings that looked like walking rhinoceroses, with thick gray skin and powerful bodies. They moved with heavy steps that made the floor shake. Each Arcturian stood 9 feet tall and was covered in natural armor plates. They were clearly the physical power in the room. The lead Arcturian, General Draz, looked down at the humans with small dark eyes. So these are the new creatures, he rumbled. They look fragile. During the meeting, the aliens asked many questions about Earth and humans. How many planets did they control? What were their weapons like? What did they eat? How long did they live? When Kate explained that humans could run for hours without stopping, the room grew quiet. When Alan mentioned that humans could survive in many different environments, from deserts to frozen lands, the Arcturians shifted uncomfortably. We would like to see these abilities, General Draz said. It wasn't really a request. The next day, the aliens set up what they called a cultural exchange, but felt more like a test. They created different challenges to see what humans could do. A young human soldier named Steve Clark was asked to run on a treadmill. After 2 hours, he was still going. The aliens whispered among themselves. Dr. Emma Lewis demonstrated how humans could eat many different foods. The Pilax seemed horrified when they learned humans were omnivores who ate both plants and animals. The biggest reaction came when Alan was accidentally cut during a strength demonstration. His red blood made the Arcturians step back, and the Zora made high-pitched sounds of alarm. Your blood contains iron, a Voss scientist said into their minds. Most sentient species find iron toxic. On the last day, General Draz challenged Alan to a simple test, holding a heavy weight. The Arcturian easily lifted the metal cube with one hand. Alan struggled but managed to lift it with both arms. Impressive for your size, Draz said, but his eyes showed something else. It wasn't respect. It was caution. As Kate and her team prepared to return to Earth, she overheard 2 Arcturians talking. They're pursuit predators, one said. Do you know what that means? It means they don't give up, the other replied. Ever. The grand meeting hall of the Concordat buzzed with angry voices. Representatives from the 7 major species sat around a large round table. They were arguing about humans. They must be classified as a dangerous species, said General Draz, the Arcturian representative. His gray, armored skin gleamed under the bright lights. The evidence is clear. The Voss leader, a floating jellyfish-like creature named Eldervine, pulsed with soft blue light. We should not rush to judgment. The telepathic message came to all present. 2 incidents are not enough to label an entire species. 2 weeks earlier, engineer Sam Carter had been working on a joint project when a radiation leak occurred. The Pelec scientists had fled in terror, knowing the radiation levels were fatal. But Sam had stayed to fix the leak. He got sick afterward, but recovered within days. The Concordat medical team was shocked. That much radiation would have killed any other known species. Then, just 3 days ago, Security Officer Olivia Diaz had caused an even bigger stir. During a misunderstanding at a trade meeting, 3 Krell warriors, each 8 feet tall with scales and sharp claws, had threatened a human merchant. Olivia, though half their size, had stepped in. The fight lasted less than a minute. All 3 Krell ended up on the floor, stunned by the speed and strength of the small human female. "The Krell are classified as a warrior species," said the Zora representative, her 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "How did one human defeat 3 of them?" "Humans have unusual muscle density and reaction times," explained the Morvani scientist, his tentacles waving from his water tank. "Also, they come from a high-gravity world. This gives them advantages." "Advantages." General Draz slammed his fist on the table. "They are unpredictable and dangerous. Their bodies contain toxic metals. They can eat almost anything. They recover from injuries quickly. And now we learn they can fight like trained soldiers, even when they are not soldiers." The debate continued for hours. Finally, Elder Vian proposed a solution. "We will place humans in the potentially destabilizing species category while we study them further. This allows us to limit their expansion and monitor their activities." Most representatives agreed. Only the Valkyrie voted against it, having grown to respect the humans who had saved their ship. Meanwhile, in a small meeting room nearby, Kate Russell and her team waited. They weren't allowed in the main meeting. When Elder Vian finally floated in to tell them the decision, Kate tried to stay calm. "This classification limits how many colony worlds we can settle," she said. "It restricts our trade rights. You're treating us like we're dangerous animals." "It is temporary." Elder Vian's thoughts came gently. "Until we understand humans better." After the meeting, Colonel Alan Hayes found Kate staring out a window at the stars. "They're afraid of us," she said softly. Alan nodded. "I saw the security footage of Olivia taking down those Krell. Even I was impressed. But why classify us as dangerous? We haven't threatened anyone." "Sometimes being different is threat enough," Alan replied. "I looked at the other species in this category. Most are predator species from harsh worlds, like us." What neither of them knew was that in a private chamber, the Arcturian delegation was holding a secret meeting. General Draz stood before his team, his small eyes hard with determination. "The public containment protocols are not enough," he growled. "Humans adapt too quickly. They learn too fast. Within a few generations, they could challenge even us." A younger Arcturian asked, "What do you suggest, General?" "Special measures," Draz replied. "The kind we reserve for extinction-level threats." Outside the window of their meeting room, the stars shone coldly. Somewhere out there was Earth, a small blue planet whose inhabitants had no idea that the galaxy's strongest species now viewed them with growing fear. And fear, as humans well knew, often led to violence. 5 years passed since humans were classified as a potentially destabilizing species. Despite the restrictions, humanity had managed to establish 3 colony worlds and build a small but growing presence in galactic society. The mining colony on Proxima Centauri II was the most successful. Rich in rare minerals, it had quickly become important to Earth's economy. Administrator Greg Foster stood on a viewing platform, watching the massive mining machines dig into the red soil. He was proud of what they had built here. A message alert beeped on his wrist device. Another complaint from the Arcturians. They claimed this area had been marked for their use decades ago, though they had never developed it. This was the 3rd such message this month. "More trouble?" asked his assistant, Wendy. Greg nodded. They're pushing harder now. I think they want us to leave. Back on Earth, in the headquarters of the United Earth Space Agency, scientist Dr. Michelle Peters stared at her screen in shock. For months, she had been translating and analyzing Concordat documents shared through official channels. But today, she had received something different, a data packet secretly sent by a Valkyrie friend. The files contained classified Concordat plans. As she read through them, her hands began to shake. These weren't simple containment protocols. They were plans to limit human reproduction on colony worlds, restrict technological development, and slowly push humanity to the edges of galactic society. Michelle immediately called Major Ryan Kelly from military intelligence. They had worked together before, and she trusted him. "You need to see this," she said when he arrived at her office. "The Arcturians have been playing a long game against us." Ryan reviewed the documents carefully. His face grew darker with each page. "This proves what we've suspected. They're systematically undermining us while pretending to be diplomatic." "But why?" Michelle asked. "We've done nothing to threaten them." Ryan closed the files and looked out the window at the busy streets of New Washington. "It's not what we've done. It's what they think we might become." On Proxima Centauri II, tensions were rising. An Arcturian trade ship had arrived 2 days ago, supposedly for routine business. But Greg Foster noticed they were scanning the human settlement and taking unusual interest in the colony's defenses. During a tense meeting with the Arcturian captain, a minor earthquake shook the building. While the humans barely reacted, the Arcturians immediately moved to brace themselves, watching with wide eyes as the humans simply stood in place, unconcerned. "Your world has frequent seismic activity," the Arcturian captain said after the tremor passed. Greg shrugged. "This was a small one. We're used to much worse on Earth." The look that passed between the Arcturians did not go unnoticed by Greg. That evening, he received an urgent message from Earth. All colony administrators were being warned about possible Arcturian actions against human interests. The message included some of the classified documents Michelle had discovered. Greg read through them twice, his concern growing. According to these plans, Proxima Centauri II was marked for resource reclamation within the next year, a polite term for forcing humans out. On a Concordat diplomatic station, Kate Russell, now Earth's senior ambassador, was meeting secretly with representatives from the Voss and Valkyrie. Both species had grown concerned about Arcturian dominance in the Concordat. "We have observed their actions," the Voss elder communicated telepathically. "They fear you not for what you are, but for what you might become." The Valkyrie representative nodded. "Humans adapt quickly. In just 5 years, you have learned our technologies, languages, and customs faster than any species we have encountered. The Arcturians see this as a threat to their position." Kate thought about the colonies, especially Proxima Centauri II with its valuable resources. "Do you think they would attack us directly?" The alien representatives exchanged looks. The Valkyrie spoke carefully. "Arcturians rarely attack directly. They prefer tests." "Tests?" Kate asked. "Situations designed to prove their beliefs about other species," the Voss explained. "If humans fail these tests, the Arcturians will use it to justify more severe restrictions." As the meeting ended, Kate couldn't shake a feeling of dread. Somewhere, somehow, humanity was about to be tested, and the stakes were higher than most humans realized. The dome habitat on Proxima Centauri II shook as the emergency alarms blared. 50 human colonists looked up in confusion as red lights flashed and the main doors suddenly sealed shut. "What's happening?" someone shouted. Engineer Heather Davis rushed to the control panel. Her fingers flew over the screen as she tried to understand the system failure. "Something's wrong with the environmental controls," she said, "and the communication system is down." Security Chief Paul Wilson pushed through the crowd. "Everyone stay calm," he ordered. "This habitat is designed to keep us safe in emergencies." But as the hours passed, It became clear this was no ordinary emergency. The doors remained sealed. The communication systems would not respond. And worst of all, the life support system was slowly failing. At current rates, we have oxygen for maybe 3 days, Heather told Paul privately. 4 if we're careful. Paul nodded grimly. This isn't an accident. What the trapped humans didn't know was that they were right. In a cloaked ship orbiting the planet, a group of Arcturians watched the dome habitat through monitoring devices they had secretly installed weeks earlier. The test has begun, said Commander Kurok, a senior Arcturian military officer. Now we will see the true nature of these humans when facing death. The Arcturians had planned this containment exercise carefully. They expected the humans, like most species under stress, to fight among themselves as resources dwindled. Such behavior would prove humans were too unpredictable and dangerous for full galactic citizenship. Inside the dome, Paul called the colonists together. I believe this is a deliberate test, he explained. Someone wants to see how we react under pressure. Instead of panic, his words were met with determined faces. The colonists quickly organized into teams. Some worked on stretching their food supplies. Others tried to fix the communication system. Heather led a group trying to repair the life support. We need to reduce oxygen use, she explained. Everyone should minimize physical activity. The colonists adjusted quickly. They set up a rotation system where most people remained in a low-energy rest state while small teams worked on essential tasks. They even found ways to capture and recycle moisture in the air. Days passed. Outside, the Arcturians watched with growing surprise. Instead of fighting each other, the humans were working together. Instead of panicking as oxygen levels dropped, they adapted their behavior to survive longer. This is not the expected response, said the Arcturian scientist monitoring the situation. Most species would have turned on each other by now. Commander Kurok rumbled with displeasure. Increase the stress factors. Reduce the temperature. Inside the dome, the colonists huddled together as the temperature dropped. They shared body heat and limited resources. When one person suggested they should use the remaining power to send a distress signal instead of heating the dome, everyone agreed despite the discomfort it would cause. We can handle the cold better than we can handle no oxygen, Paul explained. Humans evolved to survive in many different temperatures. By the 18th day, the Arcturians were disturbed. The humans had survived more than 3 times longer than predicted. They had organized, conserved resources, and maintained order despite the deteriorating conditions. What the Arcturians didn't know was that their test had been discovered. A Valkyrie scout ship had detected unusual energy readings around the colony and investigated. When they realized what was happening, they immediately contacted both Earth and the Voss representatives in the Concordat. On the 21st day, as the last of the oxygen was running out, the colonists heard a new sound, the hum of ships landing outside the dome. The main doors opened, and rescue teams rushed in. Among them was a Voss diplomat, floating gracefully in its containment field. Behind came Valkyrie medical personnel and human military officers. The Voss approached Paul and Heather, who had emerged as the natural leaders during the crisis. We have evidence. The telepathic message touched their minds. The Arcturians engineered this situation. They expected you to fail, to turn on each other. Paul looked at the tired but united colonists. They don't understand humans very well, do they? The Voss's body pulsed with light that somehow conveyed a sense of agreement. The Concordat Council will see this evidence. The Arcturians have violated our most basic laws. As the colonists were led to safety, news of what had happened spread quickly through Concordat space. The Arcturians had meant to prove humans were dangerous. Instead, they had revealed something else entirely. Humanity's greatest strength was not their physical resilience, but their ability to work together in the face of certain death. The emergency alarm cut through the peaceful evening on New Haven, a frontier colony shared by humans and Valkyrie. Red lights flashed across the settlement's central plaza as colonists rushed to safety bunkers. Commander Eric Summers ran to the defense center, his heart pounding. The radar screens showed multiple ships entering the atmosphere. "What are we looking at?" he asked the young officer at the controls. "Unknown vessels, sir. At least 12 of them. They're not responding to hails." Tactical Officer Linda Gomes pointed to a pattern on the screen. "That formation, it matches Soran attack patterns from the historical records." Everyone in the room grew silent. The Soran were the most feared predatory species in the known galaxy. Even the powerful Concordat avoided their territory. They rarely ventured this far into settled space, but when they did, they left only destruction. "How many defense ships do we have?" Eric asked. 3 armed patrol vessels. The Valkyrie have 2 more. 5 ships against 12. The odds were terrible. "Alert the Concordat. Request immediate assistance," Eric ordered, "and prepare all ground defenses." Outside, the first Xoran ships appeared in the sky. They were black, sleek vessels that looked like giant predatory fish. They fired energy weapons at the settlement's outer buildings, causing explosions and fires. The colony's small defense fleet rose to meet them. The human and Valkyrie ships fired together, damaging one Soran vessel. But the enemy's return fire crippled a Valkyrie ship, sending it spinning toward the ground. In the defense center, Eric made a quick decision. "They outnumber us in the air. We need to bring them down to the ground." Linda looked surprised. "Fight the Xoran on the ground." "Sir, they're physically stronger than both humans and Valkyrie." "Yes, but they're used to winning easily with their ships. We'll use that against them," Eric explained. "Have our ships target their landing gear and navigation systems, not their weapons." The order went out. The human and Valkyrie ships changed tactics, aiming for specific parts of the Xoran vessels. It was a risky strategy that cost them one of their own ships, but it worked. 3 Xoran ships lost control and had to land. "Now we bring the fight to them," Eric said. He grabbed his weapon and headed out, joining the ground defense teams. What followed shocked even the Valkyrie who fought alongside the humans. The Xoran were indeed physically impressive, tall, muscular beings with natural armor and sharp claws. But they weren't prepared for human combat tactics. Eric's team used the terrain to their advantage, setting traps and ambushes. They didn't try to match the Xoran's strength directly. Instead, they used speed, teamwork, and unexpected strategies. Linda led a small team that circled behind the Xoran forces. When one of her soldiers was injured, she carried him to safety while still firing her weapon. The wound on her arm that would have stopped most species seemed barely to slow her down. A Concordat observation ship arrived during the battle but stayed in orbit, recording everything. The Morvani captain watched in amazement as the humans fought on despite injuries that would incapacitate other species. "They bleed," the Morvani scientist noted, "but they don't stop." By the time Concordat reinforcements finally arrived, the battle was nearly over. The humans and Valkyrie had driven back the Xoran, destroying 5 of their ships and forcing the rest to retreat. The cost had been high. Many colonists were injured, and some had died defending their homes. But they had done what few in the galaxy thought possible. They had defeated a Xoran raiding force. As Eric and Linda were treated for their wounds in the medical center, a Voss representative floated in, accompanied by officials from other Concordat species. "We observe your defense," the Voss communicated telepathically to everyone present. It was unexpected. "We did what we had to do," Eric said simply. "Most species would have evacuated or surrendered when faced with such odds," said the Pelax representative. "The Xoran are feared throughout the galaxy." Linda managed a tired smile. Maybe they should start fearing humans too. The Concordat officials left soon after, but the recordings of the battle spread quickly through their networks. Throughout Concordat space, species watched humans continuing to fight despite pain and injuries that would stop most sentient beings. On the Arcturian homeworld, the High Command viewed these recordings with growing concern. War leader Drevox turned to his advisors after the viewing ended. They fight beyond reasonable limits, he growled. They ignore pain that would stop any rational being. And they use tactics we have not seen before. What does this mean, War Leader? Asked a younger Arcturian. Dravox's eyes narrowed. It means the human problem requires a more permane. The great hall of the Concordat fell silent as War Leader Dravox of the Arcturians stepped onto the speaking platform. His massive form seemed even larger under the bright lights. Behind him stood 6 other Arcturian leaders, all wearing formal armor that gleamed with polished metals. Members of the Concordat, Dravox began, his deep voice filling the room. For too long we have ignored a growing threat. The human species has shown itself to be unpredictable, aggressive, and dangerously adaptable. On the opposite side of the hall, Kate Russell, Earth's senior diplomat, listened with growing concern. Beside her sat cultural specialist Jake Martinez, who was taking notes on a small computer. "Did you know this was coming?" Kate whispered. Jake shook his head. "No, but our Valkyrie contacts warned something was brewing." Dravox continued his speech, showing recordings from the battle against the Xoran. But the images were edited, focusing only on moments where humans displayed unusual strength or fighting abilities. "As you can see," Dravox rumbled, "these creatures continue fighting even when gravely injured. They use unpredictable tactics. They adapt faster than any species we have encountered." Then came the ultimatum. The Arcturian High Command demands that the Concordat contain the human threat properly, limit them to their home system, control their technology development, or we will withdraw from the alliance and take necessary measures ourselves. The hall erupted into noisy debate. The Voss representatives called for calm and proper procedure. The Valkyrie openly opposed the Arcturian demands. Other species seemed unsure, looking at the humans with new suspicion. After the session ended, Kate and Jake hurried back to the Earth Embassy. They needed to report this development immediately. "This is worse than we thought," Kate said as they walked quickly through the station corridors. "They're not just afraid of us. They're building the case for direct action." Jake nodded. "I've been studying their cultural records. There's something specific about humans that terrifies them, beyond our physical abilities." "What is it?" "Our evolutionary path. Humans evolved as pursuit predators. We can track prey over long distances, never giving up. Most galactic species, including the Arcturians, evolved as ambush predators or prey animals." Kate thought about this. "So they fear our persistence more than our strength." "Exactly. To them, we represent a predator that never stops coming, no matter what." Their conversation was interrupted when the lights in the corridor suddenly went out. In the darkness, Kate heard heavy footsteps approaching. "Run," Jake shouted, pushing her forward. They sprinted down the darkened hallway as 3 figures moved after them. Even in the dim emergency lighting, Kate could see they were Arcturians, moving with surprising speed for their size. Kate and Jake barely made it to a public area where other species were gathered. The Arcturians couldn't attack them here without witnesses. After a tense moment, their pursuers backed away and disappeared. "That was an assassination attempt," Jake said, catching his breath. Back at the Earth Embassy, they found a message waiting for them. It was from the Voss and Valkyrie representatives, requesting an urgent private meeting. In a secure room deep in the Voss sector of the station, Elder Vian and the Valkyrie ambassador Shoru shared disturbing news. "The Arcturians have already dispatched a battle fleet," Shoru said, his 3 eyes blinking rapidly with stress. "They do not intend to wait for the Concordat's decision. We believe they plan to blockade your home system," Elder Vian's telepathic voice explained. "Perhaps worse." "How much time do we have?" Kate asked. 3 of your Earth days before they reach your system," Shoru replied. Kate immediately contacted Earth with the warning. The response came quickly from Admiral Diana Rogers, commander of Earth's Space Defense Forces. "We can't win a direct battle against their fleet," the Admiral said, her face grim on the screen. "They outnumber us 5 to 1, with more advanced weapons." "Then what can we do?" Kate asked. Admiral Rogers' expression changed, showing a determined smile. We don't let them reach Earth at all. I have a plan, but it's risky. Instead of waiting for them to come to us, we'll take a small delegation to meet them halfway. A diplomatic mission? Jake asked, confused. Not exactly, the Admiral replied. More like a demonstration. They think they understand humans, but they've never seen what we're truly capable of. It's time to show them. As the call ended, Kate felt a mix of fear and hope. The Arcturians, the galaxy's strongest species, were coming to eliminate what they saw as a threat. But perhaps their greatest mistake was giving humans time to prepare. And if there was one thing history had proven, it was that humans were at their most dangerous when backed into a corner. The small human ship drifted in the empty space between stars. Inside, Admiral Diana Rogers stood before her crew of 15 people. They had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might not return. The Arcturian fleet will be here in 30 minutes, she said. Remember your training. Remember why we're here. Dr. Lisa Ward, the xenobiologist from the first contact with the Valkyrie years ago, checked her equipment one last time. Do you think they'll listen before they attack? They're curious by nature, Diana replied. That's what we're counting on. On the bridge, Communications Officer Andy Clark detected the Arcturian fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel. 20 large warships appeared on their screens, arranged in attack formation. We're being scanned, Andy reported. They've noticed us. Diana took a deep breath. Open a channel. On the main screen, the massive face of War Leader Drevox appeared. His small eyes narrowed when he saw humans. You send a tiny ship to face our fleet, he rumbled, his voice filled with surprise and suspicion. We came to offer you a choice, Diana said calmly. There doesn't need to be war between our species. Drevox laughed, a sound like grinding stones. What choice could you possibly offer? Your extinction or your containment? Diana smiled. We propose a different kind of contest. Not a war, but a series of challenges. If we win, you leave Earth alone and reconsider your views on humans. If you win, we will accept reasonable restrictions. The Arcturian was silent for a moment, clearly caught off guard. Finally, he said, what kind of challenges? Tests of strength, endurance, and intelligence, but not just for combat, for cooperation. After all, true strength isn't just about destroying. It's also about building. To everyone's surprise, Drevox agreed. Perhaps he was confident in Arcturian superiority, or perhaps he was curious. Either way, it was the opportunity the humans needed. The first challenge took place on a nearby moon. An Arcturian champion easily lifted a massive boulder, demonstrating their incredible physical strength. The human champion lifted a much smaller weight, but did so repeatedly for hours without stopping, showing a different kind of strength, endurance. The second challenge tested survival skills. Both species were placed in a harsh environment with few resources. The Arcturians built a strong shelter quickly, but the humans adapted to the changing conditions, finding food and water where the Arcturians saw nothing useful. With each challenge, the humans demonstrated their unique capabilities, not always winning through superior strength, but through persistence, creativity, and teamwork. During the final challenge, Lisa approached Drevox while the others were competing. She carried data she had been collecting since first contact with aliens. Your scientists believe we are dangerous because we are different, she said, showing him the information. But look at the galaxy beyond Concordat space. There are threats out there that neither of us can face alone. She showed him images of distant dangers, aggressive hive mind species, cosmic phenomena that destroyed entire star systems, and evidence of an ancient race that had once enslaved many worlds. Strength isn't just about who can fight better, Lisa continued. It's about who can build, adapt, and cooperate. Humans and Arcturians have different kinds of strength. Together, we would be stronger than either of us alone. Drevox was silent for a long time. Finally, he said, for generations, We Arcturians have believed that physical power was the ultimate strength. We feared your species because you showed strength in ways we did not understand. Diana joined them. We don't want to replace you or challenge your position. We want to join you in protecting the galaxy. The next day, instead of a battle fleet heading toward Earth, a single diplomatic vessel arrived at the Concordat station. War leader Drevok stood before the council and announced a surprising change. The Arcturian High Command withdraws its demands regarding humans, he stated. We have observed their capabilities firsthand. They are different from us, yes. Their persistence and adaptability could make them dangerous enemies, but these same traits make them valuable allies. Many species were shocked by this change. Kate Russell, watching from the Earth section, could barely believe what she was hearing. Furthermore, Dravox continued, we propose a joint Arcturian human security initiative to explore the threats beyond Concordat space. As the council erupted in excited discussion, Kate turned to Jake with tears in her eyes. We did it, she whispered. We changed their minds. Across the galaxy, news spread quickly. The species once feared by the galaxy's strongest warriors was now their ally. Humanity had proven that true strength came in many forms, not just in the ability to destroy, but in the capacity to endure, adapt, and turn enemies into friends.